Elena is, well, she holds numerous positions in all kinds of, innovation kind of ecosystems and institutions. Just to mention one, she's a co-founder of the biggest and the most successful entrepreneurship center in Israel. It's based in Tel Aviv University. So our next speaker is from Israel. Her name is Elena Donets. Welcome her to the stage.
It was a great presentation before. I will try to match, but let's try to be short also. It's great to be here. I came from Israel, so you can be jealous. We have 25 degrees outside, but for me it's great to see snow outside. So it's great to have one snowing day here, because I heard that tomorrow it will be rainy. So it's really great to be here. Riga is my favorite city in this area. I was born in Kyrgyzstan and moved to Israel at 16. Actually, in the last 10 years, I'm dealing with innovation. You can call it innovation, but it's different. I will just ask, what does it mean innovation? And I think that we will have all different answers here, because innovation means something else to anybody else. Okay? It's different. And let's talk about the universities. I had some experience in building an entrepreneurship ecosystem inside the university. We were also the craziest people in the university. That professor said, those are young, crazy people, don't talk with them. This was the case. But we were crazy enough to convince the university that they do need this ecosystem. And I'm coming to 2009, 2010. And actually, my background, I studied mechanical engineering, so I'm also an engineer. But let's talk about the universities. What do you think that entrepreneurial university should be? I will try to answer what it shouldn't. First of all, the university is not the assembly line for startups. Trust me, university doesn't need to produce startups. It's not the right KPI. University needs to produce innovation. And let's talk what doesn't mean innovation, okay? Innovation, it's not just startups. It's just one small thing inside the innovation startups. It's how to innovate. It's to create some venture, okay? So we live in different era. And it's not something about, let's ask a question. Who has a mobile phone right now? Smartphone? Who use the smartphone not as a phone at least 10 times a day? A lot. So it took 15,000 years to move forward from just moving on your phone to sit in front of your computer, from just to make innovation to get to the computer. And it took only 30 years to take this computer to your hand. And right now, the change is that we hold in our hands the whole knowledge that we can achieve in 1 second right now. And this is the main change. How it affects on us, it's a huge effect. It's amazing. I have my nephews that they are 14 years old. They don't know how to live without some screen in front of them. And also some students. Right now we have all students. I think at the universities that were born, then it was a screen in front of them. Okay? So let's try to understand what does it mean. And the university, the main problem of the university, it's not to be fast enough to close this gap. And why? It's all about mindset. Because the university's mindset, it's about professors. And what professors used to say, research takes time. Any process takes time. And this is the answer. Once you think that any process takes time and a lot of time, you cannot be fast. And you need to react on all the changes that we have around us on a daily basis very fast. And university is an big organization with monitoring, and it's a lot of history around. And you cannot really change in one day this mindset. And you need to work on it inside the university, first of all, and not just to try to understand, okay, we need to create incubator or accelerator. What does it mean? Why do you need to create it? And let's talk about leadership. In order to create some ecosystem inside the university, you need to start not just like we started as bottom up, and we were crazy enough to move forward without any support or something like this, but you start from leadership, from the university leadership, and then you can move forward. We have all support right now in a lot of countries that give support to university to become innovative, okay? And I will just move forward because it's something that we really can understand. The problem, and it's not a problem, it's just not all of the university understand why they do need innovation and what does it mean innovation for your organization, for your university. Why do you need it? And it's not enough to say that we got grant to create incubation process. It's not enough to say that we had some new law that grants some money to create innovation ecosystem. It's not enough motivation. And it's like the same that we say to our startups and to our entrepreneurs. We say them, okay, you need to be really personally motivated enough to move forward because it's really hard to create venture. The same to the organization. If you don't really understand why you're doing it, and you don't understand why the organization need this, you cannot really start to build real, effective, and valued ecosystem inside the organization. And why it's not about, I will tell you and will open, why is to create more startups. Why do we need to create more startups? Because startups create more work jobs or job creation, okay? But if you talk about entrepreneurship and we say that one engineer who studied in this university came to some big organization and he got some entrepreneurial skills during his studies and created some new process inside really big organization that created 1,000 jobs out of there because of this process, it's the same goal, no? But it's not startup. It's something else. He used the same entrepreneurial skills he got through these studies. So if we talk about innovation and entrepreneurship, we don't talk about startups. We talk about all impact that we can create outside there. And we need to understand this, and that can be changed by KPIs. I will talk about KPIs that we have right now. I have had a lot of people coming to my office and said, okay, Lou, what is your success stories? And how many your startups really raised investments? Okay, 2 billion, 20 million, how much? And my answer was, it was not my KPI. I'm not giving money, I'm not an investor, I don't need to get ROI of these startups. I give education, I give skills, I need to measure impact. And this is the hardest thing, how to measure impact. And impact can across, we created a lot of new accelerator managers that outside their own ecosystem. We created some new really creative people who came to the big organization and made some change over there. We created some startups that are working, but maybe they don't raise any money at all. But they created 10 jobs in the last 3 months. This is how to measure the impact, and not to be a venture fund and make a KPIs like a venture fund. We are not a venture fund. And nobody else should measure themselves like how much does your startups raise money, because you are not an investor. It doesn't matter for you. So once we talk about teaching and learning, we need to understand that anyone inside the university needs to understand that our goal today is to provide not just knowledge, but practical skills that gives a lot of value to our students. And this is the change, main change in mindset. Till now, university was the knowledge resource, the main knowledge in research in the countries. It was innovation, and people started to say, okay, it's innovation, something new. I will tell you that it's not something new. Innovation was there always, and it started from the universities. Always it started from the universities. Why? Because there were some resources and smart people inside. But everything started from smart people inside. University is a meeting point for smart people. Let's try to understand what we can do with this research and with resource of smart people here, and then to try to commercialize and to try to create startups and to try to bring more and more things. Teaching in nowadays, once we have students, they don't know how to manage their life without any screen, and we still have some, in some universities, not here, like see, but some blackboards with charcoal. So this is not the way that we need to teach innovation and to teach and to provide some skills for this. Culture. Do you know the sentence that culture eats strategy on the breakfast? You can build anything. You can invest a lot of money in building programs, creating an amazing incubator program, amazing acceleration, and commercialization program, and mentorship program, and things really amazing. But you will have students are not coming, people are not really open to share their ideas, people are not really willing to fail, etc., etc. And this is a culture. How to create culture? And here I'm coming back and say, to create the culture takes time. It's a mindset, shift in mindset. It's something that really takes time. We don't have enough time, so we need to move really forward to understand how to create it. And the answer is community. Community will create the right culture. Community will come across all the universities and all the areas inside, and will connect people together. We heard about a lot about failure culture, okay? In Israel, it's okay to fail, okay? And it's in our DNA to make this happen, even you fail. But I will tell you some secret. Professors are the perfect people to teach how to fail and not to give up. Why? Research, what does it about? It's about failure on daily basis. Professor called it iteration. But it's failure. You have a theory that doesn't work, you fail. But you cannot call it failure. So persistence and how to manage the research after day after and day after and day after, it's the same like fail day after and day after. And professor can teach how to manage this feeling of failure, how to raise money. Professors are genius in this. How to raise money, you need to really learn from professors at least to get grants, etc. But also community comes not just about professors, students, and others. Community comes, it connects all people together. We need to have a community because we need to have a business people inside this community, outside of the university. It's the same. Once you have a research in your lab that's doing amazing job, it's amazing research. You wrote a lot of papers and it's really wow. And you come out of the laboratory and say, who needs my research? Nobody. Why? You can think, okay, I'm doing a great job, I'm creating a great impact, but business side will not take your research from your lab because you never talked with your business partners what the needs of the market. It's the same, it's like create startup, and it's understandable for all of us that you have to create your startups, but you need to talk with your customers. You cannot really sit in your garage for 2 years and create an amazing thing that nobody needs out of there. It's the same. Researchers, they are entrepreneurs from the beginning, but not a business people. They are innovators, but they are not a business people. They don't know how to sell their product, but they are real innovators in our universities. And how to connect all the dots, business people, young talented students, professors together, it's all about community. And it's a different topic how to create this community. Mentoring. Mentoring, and you said that it's one of the tools that have to be inside the community. It has to be because we need to learn from somebody, not necessarily from the knowledge. We need to learn from experience. We need to learn, that's all. And mentoring is all about how to get the experience. But mentoring can be different. It can be young researchers to professors. It can be students to researchers. It can be a business people comes through the laboratory and really have a conversation together, open conversation how to manage this research. And not just. Startups, it's understandable that startups need mentor. But back to 2 years ago, I think that I heard a lot of things from young entrepreneurs that saying, why do I need mentor? I know by myself what I'm doing. And this was the statement. I don't need any mentor. Right now, they know they need some mentors. But why they don't know? Why right now they know? Because of the community and culture they're just developing. Relationships and partnerships, and it comes together, as I said. Relationships and partnerships, it's coming together that we cannot create something amazing alone. We need to have our partners that can help us. It can be universities, it can be municipalities, it can be accelerators, incubators, it can be corporates, it can be whatever you want. But it has to be there. It has to be there from the top partnerships that university can create, to small partnership that any student can create. But it has to be there. We are living in global world. And a lot of universities discuss the topic of brain drain, okay? But it's the same like Facebook right now says, what I'm doing as Facebook in order to have the best employees, what the culture I'm creating inside to have employees. And actually, Facebook made a survey in last week. I had a survey, and they said, before this survey, there's always created that good employee stays inside the company because of the good boss. And then invested a lot of money in just excellence programs, some workshops for the managers to create good managers inside the organization. And what they discovered, that employees are staying inside the corporate because of the culture, not because of the boss. And I said, why? Because culture is open, you have friends, and it's not salary, even. It's a lot of young people right now looking for challenges. What will challenge you in day after day? Why it's so interesting for you to come to your job and to come to the office and to come to other place? And it's all about culture, how to create those challenges. That's why a lot of corporates right now, in order to keep their employees inside, create acceleration programs inside the corporate. A lot of them. Why? because they want their challenges be resolved by their employees, and not their employees will go outside and create startups. And this is something really new that we see in last 5 years. It's called Intrapreneurship. And Intrapreneurship can be applied also for universities. How we use our main resource, our people inside the university, to make the university entrepreneurial and innovation one. And I will just conclude by that we have 3 key real components in order to be successful in innovation. The first is talent. Talent is here at the university. University is the first meeting point for all talented people in the country, in every country. It's a meeting point. It's a meeting point for young, talented students. It's a meeting point for professors. And it should be also a meeting point for corporates. And it should be a real meeting point of community. And all of those should be here. Then we have a university as a structure. A university as a structure should be enough organized to, as we heard about the Ericsson, the picture issue, so that corporates didn't know how to talk with startups. University also needs to learn how to talk with young people and startups. How to learn inside the corporate, inside the organization, who is the right person, what the structure should be. The structure should be changed. The structure is one of the key elements. And the third is resources. Resources can come from over the world. It's not just grants and the government. It can be also business and it can be other things. You need just to understand what is your incentive to create this process, innovation process, entrepreneurship, and what is a business model of this process. It should be there for sure. It cannot be relied on the government because it's changing, like in Ukraine every year something else, or other countries, and it will come to all countries. In Israel, the government changes every 3 years, at least. We are not talking about all of other things that applies on the government, but it should be built on the business model and should give you a business incentive for the university, and it will work. It will really work once you have the right incentives to create the right process. Thank you.
And now it's time for a few questions before we go to the break.
Thanks very much, Elena. Really enjoyed that. You started out by talking about different kinds of innovation. And today's talks started out with the innovation ecosystem of Latvia, for example. I'm particularly interested in ecosystem innovation and ecosystem entrepreneurs. A friend of mine started a PhD program in Buenos Aires on systemic innovation and leadership, you know, in that context. So I just kind of like to get your thoughts on that.
It's all about creating an ecosystem. It's the same. It comes from the global world, globalization, to create the ecosystem. Why? Because till globalization, till internet, we were really closed in our small environments. And then it comes, I remember that it was about 7 years ago that we came with an ecosystem term of ecosystem, and people ask us, biological ecosystem? What does it mean? What does it mean ecosystem? I prefer to call it community, and not just ecosystem. It's all about community, how we can engage to each other, and this is what about ecosystem. To provide the innovation ecosystem, it's different from the ecosystem innovation. It's to create new models of creating innovation. Ecosystem that we have right now will be changed.
I believe you have to use the mic, yeah.
So an example of ecosystem innovation might be prototyping new kinds of special economic zones, for example.
Yes, it's also, but it's creating new tool for innovation inside the ecosystem. It's a tool for innovation. It's creating, it's the same like we have a technology that we can create a new technology, new methodology in education, new things. So it's create new tool and platforms for innovation. And it comes together with development because right now we have in each one of the ecosystems some platforms that working, but once comes someone else that see this differently, he will create something else. And this is what you're talking about, that it's how government, or for example, can be involved and create their own platforms to create innovation. But it will come by their own. I don't think that it can be a research, really nice research about it, but I'm a really practical person of doing things in the field. I'm not the research person. I call it to create new platforms. That's how I understand it.
He doesn't look really happy with the answer, to be honest. So let's have this discussion in the coffee break, I believe. We have a next question here.
Okay, the question is, thanks for your presentation first. The question is, you mentioned KPIs. So could you elaborate a bit on what KPIs would you use to judge success of particular innovation? And secondly, to judge the universities or other ecosystems' ability to support innovations as such?
The KPIs depends on the goals, okay? Goals to, first of all, of stakeholders. Because you need to KPI to report about some process to somebody else, okay? So it depends on goals. You have KPIs that you can show, and you have to have also background KPIs for yourself, okay? Some KPIs can be really great for yourself, but it's not enough for PR and for others. So it's different types of KPIs it should be. It depends on goals. For example, if the goal is to make an impact on the society, so you can think about KPIs, how many of your students came out of their program with some great entrepreneurial skills and how they applied those skills in their lives. For example, MIT incubator, they have those KPIs. They don't talk about KPIs just about startups. They talk about the connections that students made through their programs. How many connections and what those connections led to inside or maybe corporates and something else. So this is how to measure. Once you understand that your goal is not to create startups, and you will make more KPIs and more understandable KPIs to others. But still, you will need to educate the market how to talk about KPIs, not about investments.